This is In the Market. I'm your host, Janet Parshall, and what a joy it is to welcome Nonie Darwish back to the program. She's an American human rights activist. She's a writer. She's a speaker, and she's the founder of Arabs for Israel. She's also the director of Former Muslims United. And what I particularly appreciate is Nonie's sensitivity to the plight of women in Islamic-dominated countries and how very, very difficult it is for them. But Nonie, we don't even have to look to the Middle East. Sometimes we just look to Canada, and we can see that this idea of the subjugation of women is just as real here in the West as it is in the Middle East. And along comes this horrific story of a man who is willing to put his daughters to death in what is called an honor killing. Talk to me about this and how real this concern should be for all of us.
Janet, is already here in the United States. Just recently, a mother, an Iraqi mother, was tying her daughter to the bed, a 19-year-old daughter to her bed, because they saw her in the school talking to a boy.
Mm.
So this is happening, and the girl's life was probably saved because she complained to her teachers. So this is here in America. It's happening in Canada. He actually succeeded in killing his 3 daughters and one of his 2 wives. And so this is something that is actually in the norm in the Muslim world, and that's why women are always to be blamed when a sexual crime happens. If a rape happens, it's always the woman's fault. She seduced the man. It's never the man's fault. And I lived under this system, Janet, and I know how it is. I used to be ashamed of smiling at a man just because I don't want to be accused of trying to seduce men. It's not just in the big things, in the little things. Your life is completely segregated from the men. And even husband-wife relationship is so limited to the home, and there is no intellectual relationships. It's almost like a master and a servant.
Yes.
Yes. And this is a man's job in the world. His number one job in the Muslim world is not his family, is not his wife. It's his jihad. And that is why women are oppressed, because women in the Muslim world are regarded as the hindrance for men to become jihadists. So the hatred of women is promoted because men, number one job in Islam is to go conquer the lands of the non-Muslims and to expand Islam and to conquer the world for Islam. It's a very conquering ideology, and what's standing in the way of men doing this is the women who civilize them, women who will make them happy to be home, who make them happy to live. And so it's a very sick dynamic, Janet, and it's coming here to a neighborhood near you in America.
Oh. No, let me go back to the situation in Canada where he killed one of his 2 wives and both of his daughters. What was the alleged crime that they had committed that they died in this so-called honor killing?
It's a joke by American standards. I think one of the girls was rumored to have a boyfriend or nothing like what we think of a bad thing that a girl has done. And he killed the 3 of them, even the 13-year-old, who was not even the accused one in the first place. It's almost like, okay, one of the girls was seen or was rumored to wanting to have a boyfriend. And so what happens is he goes and kills everybody who's around her who might be doing the same thing. Or who defended her, or who stood in the way of her, of supporting her. They don't only kill the girl, but they threaten anyone in the family who stands by her. I've lived it. And what happens is even those who want to defend the girl who committed the sexual whatever violation that they, if any of the sisters or any of the brother weaken and say, I want to stand by my sister, maybe we give her a chance, then that member of the family becomes another target.
Wow, amazing. Nonie, as you were talking, I was thinking how important it is that there be open, robust conversation here in the United States about the opposition of putting Sharia law in place. In Canada, by the way, this father is going to face the full penalty of the law and made the bold declaration that he would do it again regardless. But just think for a moment that if Sharia law were allowed to run in tandem with Canadian law, or for that matter, here in the United States, Sharia law would have to trump Canadian jurisprudence or American jurisprudence, and this man could get off quite literally completely free because Sharia law would say, within the parameters of its beliefs, you have the right to do that. So therefore, you're not going to pay a crime.
By the way, a lot of Muslim apologists in America say, Islam has nothing to do with honor killing. Well, there are laws that support it, and they are trying to trick Americans. There are specific laws that say that a parent will be forgiven for killing his offspring. There is a law that's like that. There is another law that states that a Muslim will be forgiven for murder, for apostasy, or for sexual crimes. So there are laws in Sharia that actually support the killing of those who commit sexual crimes.
Wow.
So those people who are spreading that Islam has nothing to do with honor killing, they are not telling you the truth.
And as you say and have said, Nonie, you lived under that system, so you know what the truth is. Let me take a break, and when we come back, I want to examine why, if it's so brutal for women, why women stay. It's a very Western question, I realize, but why wouldn't women just pack up and say, I've had enough of this? You've written about the fact that men can beat their wives at any time and don't even have to give a reason why. So my question is, why do they stay? We'll be back. Nonie Darwish is with us. She is an American human rights activist, a writer, a public speaker, founder of Arabs for Israel. She is also the director of Former Muslims United. And she talks a lot, particularly about the plight of women in Islamic-dominated countries and minority rights that also are being threatened in the Middle East as well. Nonie, we're talking to people all across the country, and as they're hearing this story, and I have to believe that for the majority of people listening, none of this information is new. They just don't realize how this concern is right in our own backyard. That this Sharia law idea is that a man is entitled to more than one wife and may do with her what he deems appropriate, including beating her, or if he thinks that she has done something inappropriate, he has the right by Sharia law to execute her, often referred to as an honor killing. So this case broke in Canada last week. The husband killed one of his two wives and murdered two of his children as well, and now he will go to trial. As we were saying before, if Sharia law were in place in Canada, there would be a hue and cry by some to say he should be tried under Sharia principles rather than Canadian jurisprudence, and that would be a travesty, to say the least. So the question then becomes, when things are as difficult as they are so often for women in Islamic-dominated countries, why do they stay? You lived in this system. Why do they stay? I'll
tell you why. Here in America, if you're a Muslim woman, you have options if you go to a shelter or something. But imagine yourself in a Muslim society, you live in a big prison. And everything in that prison is geared towards giving you respect only if you are living within the rules of Sharia and the rules of Islam. So if a Muslim woman, let's say, escapes from her father or family, she will be totally shunned by society. She's not going to be embraced in a shelter. Her respect in society is totally linked to her approval in her family. So a Muslim woman in a Muslim society has no way, no other alternative but to abide by Sharia. And so there is no outlet. And that's why for women to have acceptance in society, in Muslim society, or respect in Muslim society, they end up becoming as radical, if not more radical, in applying Sharia than men. They often report on girls who have boyfriends to get the respect. Some of the mothers and the sisters participate in covering up for the father who killed his daughter. So they end up joining the tyranny and not standing against it. And that's why Muslim women have no mercy towards each other. Because you will find that a lot of the abuse of women happen by being reported to the men by other women. It's a system. It's a cruel system that leaves nothing to women but to join it.
Yeah.
It's totally closed. It's a totally closed system. If you ever leave your family and go live by yourself, you'll be shunned by society. You'll be killed.
Yes.
There is no approval of women living by themselves in the Muslim world.
Nonie, woman to woman, this is a particularly hard topic, I think, because if a woman decides that she can no longer live in a system like that, and more importantly, if a woman decides that she no longer wants to be a practitioner of Islam, but decides, in fact, to follow Jesus and to become a Christian, knowing everything that you've just said, that puts her in a terribly difficult situation.
Yeah, she'll be killed. In a Muslim society, you cannot leave your family, you cannot leave Islam, you cannot leave the system. The only thing is if you're lucky enough, like I was, to have a visa to come to America, then that is the only escape. That is the only escape. And I'm on the phone a lot of times these days with apostates, people who left Islam secretly in Egypt, who want to get the hell out of there. And they can't get the visa to the United States. Because if the United States Embassy gives visas easily in the Muslim world, half the population will come to America.
Wow. Nonie, there's so many things that you brought up that I think are important for us to be praying for these women in particular, because they're in a very, very difficult situation, because they, as you've just explained to us, cannot get out. You say that literally it's a visa that gets them out of the country, if they're able to get one, gets them out of the country.
Because it's almost impossible. Otherwise, America will have half the world come if they open it up like that. So I heard the latest statistics. 70% of young Egyptians want to leave the country to come to America. 70%. And many of them are totally confused about their religion, and they might come here and just become radicals.
So much to pray about. Nonie, thank you so much. You've offered us some key insight. It's also, I think, the reason why you've written the book, Cruel and Unusual Punishment, The Terrifying Global Implications of Islamic Law. You understand what I think so many here in the West do not, which is not only is Islam a religion, yes, it is a religious worldview, but it is also a geopolitical system. And the story, this horrible story that came out of Canada, is a reminder of what happens when Sharia law is practiced. Now, it's not, obviously, the principles and the tenets are not practiced by every single practicing Muslim, that's for sure. You'd see more honor killings all the time. But when it happens once too many, and we are to expose the deeds of darkness. So it's important that you understand what this case was all about, and why, when you see states that say we do not want any jurisprudence in our state predicated on anything other than American laws, this is one of the reasons why. My thanks to Nonie Darwish. And if you'll visit In the Market with JanetParshall.org, you can click on the website for Arabs for Israel and also the website for Former Muslims United. My thanks to Nonie Darwish. We'll be right back.